Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason. I'm speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. And today I'm continuing my series of ranking every single Beatles song from 213 to number one. And this one I'm finishing out the category which I call the bad Beatles songs. I have 8 more songs in that category. Um, and I say bad, it might sound like a harsh term to say. I guess to me it's just Beatles songs that I just don't care for, that I skip, or yeah, just don't put it anywhere on a playlist I can listen to. I maybe turn a channel if it comes on the radio, but these songs usually don't come on the radio. That's why they're at the bottom of my list. But I say about the Beatles. To me, when I say Beatles, bad Beatles, good Beatles, I mean the very, very good Beatles songs are some of the best songs ever written, ever performed, recorded. So I'm comparing the bad Beatles songs to the great Beatles songs. So if this is the great Beatles songs, these are the Beatles songs that are just way below expectations or what they're capable of, I guess, in my sense. Because I think sometimes, because some of these songs are cover songs that I have on my list, and there's some really good cover songs the Beatles did that are very high on my list. But there are a number of cover songs that I don't care for that they did the early part of their career that are kind of low on my list. Um, a lot of that is just because uh, the Beatles covering somebody from the 50s usually because they grew up in the 50s and this is music that they liked growing up and that they performed at their first concert venues and at Hamburg, and places that they played live, and so they enjoy. They're probably really fun songs to play live, and they were popular, so they probably did well. Um, and so that's why they recorded them in their early works because they're so easy to record because they did them so often. But I guess to me, I just don't care for the Beatles when they do a cover song from the 50s. And it doesn't sound like the Beatles to me because the Beatles are at their best. Like I said, of course, their songwriting is bar none the best. But also, and the musicianship is good. But also, those vocal harmonies are so good. A lot of times I hear these uh, 50s cover songs and there's no vocal harmonies, just either John or Paul or George usually or Ringo just singing solo, and it's just not as doesn't sound just nearly as good as what the Beatles are capable of. And that's why I don't care for them as much. A lot of these cover songs I'm going to talk about today. Um, Also, like just my personal preference of music. I'm not a fan of blues music. Not a fan of R&B music. Anyway, so sometimes they do a lot of songs that have that kind of feel to them that I don't care for. A lot of times I'm doing research and I read about a song and I hear, oh, this was done in a blues style, and I think, oh, that's why I don't like it because it's a bluesy style of music, and that's what I kind of thought. And then when I read it, I'm like, okay, that's what I thought. It was kind of more bluesy or R&B type music that I don't care for. I like folk music, pop music, rock music, and any combination of those three basically is my favorite type of music. So when you go outside of that, those three genres, I usually don't care for it as much or at all. Anyways, in some cases. Of course, and these are at the high end of my bad Beatles songs, so these aren't real bad like some of the other ones I talked about. Like I said, these are just ones that just to me just don't feel like the Beatles type of music in a lot of cases. Anyways, so we'll get to that. So I think it's enough intro to my list here, and just say these songs you might really like, and that's fine with me. Every list is different. These are just my preference of what I like, I guess, from the Beatles themselves. So number 189 is a song called "For You Blue." Came off the Let It Be album. It's written by George Harrison and sung by George Harrison. None of the other Beatles sing on it. The only other Beatle involved is John Lennon. I guess plays some lap steel guitar, read, which I was surprised. I thought this was just all George Harrison basically doing everything. But John did contribute a little bit. But so I guess to me it's a song that like it doesn't really feel like a Beatles song. It's a George Harrison song, which could be fine if George Harrison has a good song. This isn't one of his best songs, like Something or Here Comes the Sun. Uh, his guitar work is good. He's using slide guitar, which is the first time I think I've heard him use a slide guitar. Obviously, his solo work is real famous for his slide guitar work. Um, My Sweet Lord is one of his biggest ones, obviously, that uses it in. So, I mean, guitar work, okay. It's a love song to his wife, Patty Boyd. Um, it's lyrically, I don't know if it's okay, nothing great. I think vocally, to me, it's one of his not really great vocal works of George Harrison. George Harrison, not necessarily one of the best vocalists in the group, but he can be very good in something like Something or Here Comes the Sun or My Guitar Gently Weeps. Or While My Guitar Gently Weeps. He doesn't do bad. I think this to me vocally is a little weak, and I don't know, just structurally, just I don't know, one of the weaker songs in his catalog of songs with the Beatles, in my opinion. They describe it as a 12 bars blues in a country blues style. So again, it has that bluesy style to it that I just don't like, and so to me, it's just a throwaway song of the Beatles, in my opinion. And George Harrison has much better work, obviously, in his what he's done with the Beatles. It was also a B-side to The Long and Winding Road, which was a single that came out in the U.S. It peaked at number 71, which I was surprised. I didn't know that this was anybody really cared for the song or listened to it that much, anyways. Anyway, so that's For You Blue 189. 188, a song about a city close to me called Kansas City, Hey, 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 or / Hey, 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 almost like two songs in one. Kansas City was written by Lieber and Stoller in 1952, so it's an early 50s song. Lieber and Stoller, of course, was one of the great songwriting teams of the 50s. I believe wrote a lot of the Elvis Presley hits and hits for a lot of other groups of the 50s. Anyways, it's just a song about, they wrote it about, of course, Kansas City. Kansas City, if you don't know, Kansas City is actually the one they're talking about is actually in Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri is the big city, Kansas City. There's a Kansas City, Kansas, but it's not as big as Kansas City, Missouri. And Kansas City, Missouri has all the big stuff like the Chiefs and the Royals and all that, and the big, theaters and venues and all that, and malls. And it's definitely the biggest city close to this area. And I live maybe 45 minutes from downtown Kansas City. It's definitely by far the biggest city close to the state of Kansas. It's in the northeast, in Missouri-Kansas border. So if you live in northeast Kansas like I do, you're pretty close to that area, and that's such a huge city compared to anything else nearby. Anyways, saying that, so Kansas City, I feel is almost part of our state of Kansas, because it has the name Kansas in the city name. So I don't know. So I do feel close to Kansas City. It's almost like my own city, in a way. Still saying I don't care for the song. Again, it's early 50s. I mean, it's kind of done in again, I don't know if you call it a bluesy style. I'd call it like a bluesy R&B style, because mostly black singers, I think, sang this in the 50s. It's been covered like 300 times. I mean, it's covered so many times. I don't know who's the big one. Little Richard, of course, one of the huge musicians at this time, he's the one who did the version of Kansas City, and then he added the Hey, Hey, Hey part. So that's where kind of, I think, the Beatles are getting this version is from the Little Richard version. And I listened to some versions on Spotify, because there's just so many, so I just picked a couple out. And they're definitely usually more piano based. I found out a lot about cover songs, like a lot, especially like the bluesy R&B style. Usually is more piano based, maybe has some more horns involved, and usually is a little bit slower than what the Beatles do. The Beatles usually take it and speed it up more and add more guitar and drums to it, and it's more guitar drum heavy, because Beatles are more of a rock band, and so it's definitely a little bit different version of it. I almost would say some of the Kansas City, I forget, there's one guy I never heard of that I heard a version of it, and it didn't sound too bad. I think I almost prefer the slower version of the song with the piano than what the Beatles do. Surprisingly, not much better, but I mean, maybe a little bit better, but I don't care for either version a whole lot. Like, I'm not a huge fan. And I'll say this, like I said before, the person who originally does the song sometimes fits their style better than the Beatles style. And that's probably why I don't like the Beatles doing it as much, because I just feel like their style just doesn't fit the song. And I don't know, I just don't feel like they fit the song very well. I mean, Paul McCartney does a fine job vocally, everything. It's kind of supposed to be kind of a fun rock song. It's just a song about going to Kansas City, which I read about Lieber and Stoller had never been to Kansas City, but they heard songs about Kansas City, and so they kind of wrote this in the style of that, and kind of wrote it like, oh, Kansas City is this great place you got to go to, Not much to it lyrically. And then the Hey, Hey, Hey part really is what probably brings it down for me, because it's just hey, 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 hey. It's just back and forth, hey, 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 baby, hey, hey. And it's like, okay, I don't need this. It's just saying hey a whole lot and doesn't really add anything to the song, in my opinion. I mean, probably a fun song to hear live, but just not a song I care to listen to at 188. 187, I have a song called Oh Darling. Came off the Abbey Roads album, written by Paul McCartney and sung by Paul McCartney. And this is a song I've heard people really, really like the song. I don't know. Maybe I'm one of the weird ones that just I don't care for the song at all. And when I was doing research, and I kind of fit my what I don't like about this type of song. And it says when I was doing research, it says it was written in the 50s, 60s style, like a 50s style. And that's what I thought when I listened to the song. It just doesn't feel like, especially this is late Beatles. I mean, Abbey Roads, we're talking 1969, I believe, at the very end of the Beatles. And so, why at the very end of the Beatles when you're doing so much, psychedelic rock, so much experimental music at this time, and really changing music and expanding it and doing so many interesting things in the studio. Like, why would you do a song like this at this time that kind of is a retro song of the 50s? To me, it just doesn't work. I'd rather hear the Beatles, be more innovative in their music at this point. And so to hear Paul trying to write a song, or he writes a song in the 50s style, also it's a blues style. Again, I said I don't like that 50s blues style of music anyway. So him doing this retro song, I don't know, just doesn't feel like a Beatles song to me. It doesn't feel like what they do great. It's trying to be somebody else, anyways. And so that's why I just never cared for the song. And like Paul McCartney, vocally, I usually say he's really great. He maybe even tries too hard in the song, and I would even say I don't really care for it vocally. It really comes out kind of screamy in parts. And I don't know, musically, everything I just don't care about for the song, I'm afraid. Um, and Paul, the way he recorded it, he wanted it to sound like he had been singing this live, and so and you kind of feel it in the recording, like it feels almost like he's doing this like a live version of the song, and it doesn't feel as polished as other songs in other ways. And that's the way he wanted it to be anyway. So I don't know, it just doesn't sound as good to me as their other work at this time. Anyway, so I have Oh Darling in at 180 or yeah 187. So 186 is a song called The Ballad of John and Yoko, obviously written by John Lennon. Um, and it's about him, obviously, it's right in this title. It's about him and Yoko Ono, who he was getting married to, and it kind of written about the trouble they had. They were having trouble. They wanted to get married here, but they said they couldn't or something, and then they traveled over here and wanted to get married on a boat, but they couldn't get married on a boat. They wanted to get married in Paris or something, but I don't know. They were having trouble getting married in these different, and they ended up getting married in Gibraltar. And so he kind of writes the song as like this, everybody's out to get him. I think it seems like like he's just trying to get married, and yet everybody's like making it hard on him and Yoko, and all this. And it's just John and Paul playing on this. From what I've read, it sounds like after John was kind of frustrated probably of all this trouble he's having trying to get married to Yoko Ono, and so he quickly wrote down the song, it seems like, and then he went to the studio where Paul was and said, okay, I need to immediately put down this song. And so it was kind of a rush song, it feels like. And so Jordan Ringo not involved at all. I believe Paul probably does the bass and the drums on it, and John's doing the guitar, and John's singing. I don't know if Paul contributes that much into that. Anyway, so it just doesn't feel like a Beatles song. Again, it just doesn't have really the great Beatles sound to it that I like. It came out as a single in 1969. It was actually the last number one single in the UK for the Beatles, which really surprised me because I don't like the song at all. So I'm surprised that people actually like the song enough to be number one. It's not really a song I feel like you talk about as much. We talk about the great Beatles songs. I don't really hear a lot of people talk about the Ballad of John and Yoko, so I'm kind of surprised how well it did at this time. It went to number 8 in the U.S., and it was also banned by some station. And probably one of the big reasons why I don't like the song and I just don't like listening to it is that he uses the word Christ in it. Christ, it ain't easy. And it's hard when, as a Christian, to hear someone use the word Christ in that sense, unless you're using Christ in a real relevant, not relevant, you're using it to, express, praise towards Jesus. That's why you use Christ. But I don't know, just using a song like this, Christ, I don't know, it just kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. At least it does me. And that's why it was banned in a lot of stations in the U.S. at the time, because they don't like using the word Christ in the song. Not that it's maybe blasphemous or sacrilegious necessarily, but I don't know, it's just a word it's a really touchy word that you have to be careful with, I guess, for a lot of Christians. And I kind of that way too. And I don't like the way that he kind of almost seems like he's using the word Christ as almost comparing himself to like the troubles that Christ had, because it says, it ain't easy. The way things are going, they're going to crucify me. Obviously, they crucified Jesus for, what he said. And so it's like, oh, I'm just like, it almost feels like I'm like Jesus. I'm going to be crucified because of, my beliefs or something. Anyways, and it's like John Lennon's so far from Jesus Christ that I don't really like him using any kind of comparison to what Jesus went through. And so all of that, I don't know, I just don't like any of those lyrics. And I don't know, I don't like the style of the song at all, vocally, musically, I don't know, just not my style of music. I don't know how you describe the music in it. It's just, it doesn't feel like a Beatles song to me. It just feels something different. It feels more like a John song, I guess. More of a John solo song than a Beatles song. But anyways, yeah, so that's enough, I guess I can say. That's why I have it so down on my list at 186. 185, I have a song called Boys. Came off the very first record, Please Please Me. Very first song that Ringo sang on an album, of course. First time we get to hear Ringo sing, do you know he would be able to sing? I'd say he could sing. I don't know. He can sing, but it's not great. But I mean, he's just good enough. He can make it onto a record, I guess. As long as you have other really good songs surrounding it, I suppose it works okay. It was written by Luther Dixon and Wes Farrell. I believe in the early, like 1960, I believe. It's mostly famous for the Shirelles did it. It was actually a B-side to a Shirelle song called Will You Love Me Tomorrow, which was one of their biggest hits. And it's a really good song of the Shirelles. And so this is the B-side of that one. And I would say, like, I listened to the original Shirelles, and I would say I like the original better than the Beatles version. Mostly because I think the Shirelles' vocals are better than Ringo's vocals. Ringo's vocals definitely were very weak at this point early on. I think he gets a little bit better. He never gets great, but they do a little bit better in the later Beatles songs. And some Beatles songs fit him, actually. Especially, I think Lennon and McCartney are good at coming up with songs that fit Ringo's voice well, and it works pretty well. I don't know, this one to me doesn't work at all, especially vocally, but musically too. Of course, the Shirelle song's a little slower, like I said, more piano-based, not really heavy on drums at all, while this one's more of a upbeat rock song with more guitar and drums, obviously, because Ringo's singing it, you got good drum beat to it. So it's a bit different, but I don't know, I think I prefer the slower Shirelle style than the Beatles style in this point, in my opinion. It's weird, of course, you have to touch on the song. The song was written towards a girl's perspective. Shirelles are singing, of course, they're girls. They're singing about how they like boys. And so then it's weird you have Ringo singing about boys, talking about boys. And it's like, why are guys talking about boys that aren't, heterosexual men? It's just very strange to have this song, to me, on a Beatles record, or have them record this music. They record some female group songs, and they work really well with the Beatles. They can work it in a way that it sounds really, really great. I don't think this is one of them. And it's not a terrible song, but they probably could have picked a better song from the Shirelles to do, I think, and it would have worked better. But and it's weird that Ringo sings, like, why does Ringo sing? Well, when he was with Warrior in the Storm, he would sing the song. So this is a song that he sang for a long time. And even in concert today, if you go see a Ringo Starr concert, Ringo Starr and his All-Star Band, which I saw, I think 2 years ago, maybe. I think 2019, maybe. I saw them in concert here in Kansas City. In fact, I saw them in concert. Um, and when you go to, he's going to sing the song. This is kind of almost one of his most famous tunes, it feels like, or songs that he loves to perform is Boys for some reason. So it's a song that he's sung for a really long time. And I guess I think it's got a close place to his heart because of that. But I also heard that Pete Best sang the song with the Beatles. When the Beatles actually performed this song before Ringo was on the band, Pete Best, the drummer, would sing it. They would give him a song. So I don't know. Maybe just because they're like, hey, let's throw the drummer a song. We sing everything. We'll throw one song to the drummer just to give us a rest. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah. That's Boys, 185. 184 is Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby. Came off the Beatles for Sale album, sung by George Harrison, written by Carl Perkins in 1956. This is, I believe, the third Carl Perkins songs that they had performed. They were huge Carl Perkins fans, especially George Harrison. And all three Carl Perkins songs are in my list of bad songs. I said before, I'm just not a fan of his style of music. They call him a rockabilly rock, and I don't like rockabilly at all. It's not my style. I don't know if it's anybody's style anymore. It was kind of an old style that was outdated by this point. That was very popular at one time. And Carl Perkins seems to be like a guy that he wrote some songs that were more popular by other groups. Like I said, the Beatles did 3 covers. And, Blue Suede Shoes is the most famous song that Elvis really made famous when he covered it. But yeah, I don't know. I've never been a big fan of Carl Perkins. Never heard of him actually until I was watching the Beatles anthology, I think. And they mentioned him, and I was like, who's that? And I don't know. I've done a little research on him. Of course, mostly because, like I said, this one, Honey Don't, which was really far down my list, one of my definitely worst Beatles song I ever covered. Honey Don't, and also Matchbox, I believe was the other one that Ringo does those other 2 songs. This is one by George Harrison sings. And I don't know, just doesn't fit the Beatles to me. Musically, vocally, lyrically, just I don't know, just way below what the Beatles can do, I think, and yeah, just never cared for any of his stuff. Number 183, I've got Dizzy Miss Lizzy, written by Larry Williams in 1958, and I've touched on Larry Williams a couple of times. This is actually the 3rd song that they've covered. I've talked about Slow Down and Bad. Is it Bad? I can't remember. Bad Boys or something. I don't know. Now I'm forgetting the name of that song, but it's another one where all 3 of his cover songs, I'm afraid, are my least liked songs on my list, my bottom of my list. And I listened. If you listen to his version, he's very much a bluesy style piano player, and it's more an instrumental, other horns and stuff like that, and it's definitely slower than the Beatles version. I would say that I think the Beatles version is better than the original. I think I've said that about all 3 of Larry Williams' songs. I actually think and I think John sings all of them. Yeah, John sings the vocals on all 3, and I think John's vocals are just a lot better than Larry Williams, in my opinion. He actually really elevates the music in that way, and it's faster pace, better guitar, more guitar work, more drums. It's more of a rock song when the Beatles do it, and so I do like the Beatles song version better than the original, but still, it's just again a cover of a '50s song, bluesy '50s song that I just don't feel like it's a good Beatles song. I don't know, just doesn't fit the Beatles to me. What I like about them, the harmonies and just the great melodies. Lacks that stuff that I love about the Beatles, is the ability to harmonize and create really great melodies. It's just a fast-paced. I think it's just meant to be a fast-paced, fun song, which fit that era, of course, where you just went to listen to music and dance on the dance floor. These '50s hops, sock places, and so it really fits that era, I guess. But to me, just as a recording, it doesn't fit. And I've heard the song sung live by like Beatle tribute bands, and I would say it's a fun song to listen to live, a lot better than listening on the studio. It's one of those things. I don't know if you ever have felt that way about a song, but that live it feels like it's kind of a fun song to listen to live. It's got some good guitar work on there, but as a studio song, it's just nothing to me. I said it's by far the best Larry Williams song that they covered. I think it's by far his best song that I've heard. I'm not sure what it's about someone named Lizzie, I think, and how they probably like Lizzie because she makes them dizzy, something like that. I'm guessing. I didn't look too much into the lyrics, but yeah, it's a song that probably people like better than me. It's probably not considered one of their bad songs. Just to me, I don't know. It's a song that I could do without. Okay, so then the last song on my list of this video, and it's probably the most controversial song I probably put on my list as a bad song because I know a lot of people love the song, but it's called Michelle. Came off the Rubber Soul album, written by Paul McCartney, and unlike most of the songs I've talked about are cover songs, here's the original, and on a really good album, one of my favorite albums, Rubber Soul. It just doesn't work for me. Like I said, and I've heard some people don't really like the song, and I've heard a number of people to say this is one of their favorite songs. So I'm like, I'm sorry, but this song is just so boring. It's so slow moving. Michelle, it's just like, I don't know, it just makes me fall asleep when I listen to it. And the whole music, all the music and everything, it just doesn't have that great Beatles punch, like compared to a lot of the songs on Rubber Soul. They have this great, rock guitar, great bass. The bass work is so amazing on Rubber Soul, and they got this fuzzy bass sound that sounds great. And anyways, this song just to me is the worst song on the album, in my opinion. The only song I think I have from Rubber Soul is on my bad list is this song. And I can see someone probably say, yeah, it's, they like Paul's vocal work is fine. It's good and everything, but like I said, musically, just too slow for me. And then he throws in French words, which, like, I don't care. I don't need a song with French in it. I could do without that, personally. It doesn't make it. Maybe at the time they thought, oh, this song is interesting. He's speaking French. To me, I'm like, I don't care. He can speak whatever language. I'd rather just listen to him speak English. That's the language I understand. So just stick to that, in my opinion. But it's famously, this is the weird part, is that it won a Grammy for Best Song. It's like the only Beatles song, I believe, that won the Grammy for Best Song. Like, of all the great Beatles songs, how is this the one that won Best Song? It boggles my mind. And even on Forever Soul, In My Life, come on. In My Life doesn't win Best Song. This does? That doesn't make any sense to me. But, yeah, I don't know. I just don't care for this song. And I feel bad saying that because I know people do love the song, and I'll get a lot of comments that probably say that they love the song. But in my personal opinion, this is almost made it to my okay Beatles song, but after listening to it, I just can't put it in there. It has to be into my list of bad Beatles songs. Songs that I just do not like. I just do not like to listen to when it comes to Rubber Soul. It's a song the only song I'll skip on that album. Anyway, so that's Michelle at 182. That's my end of my video today. And so after that, I'll get to the songs that I think are okay Beatles songs, and I'll go through them. Maybe still do multiple probably in one video, but not as many as these. I try to get through these fast because I don't like talking about the Beatles songs I don't like so much. So once I get to the Beatles I like, I'll talk more about it and spend more time on them. Anyway, so hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you do, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking it. And I just thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate your support in the channel. And hopefully I keep making these videos and you'll watch it. And hopefully we have discussions about what I've been saying anyway. So, and I'd love to hear your comments on if you like these Beatles songs or not. I'd love to read the comments. Anyway, so just thank you and have a nice day.